All right, we'll get to that next week.
Fair enough.
So specifically, because we know you are connected with the ear to the ground, and do be specific. Who are the Kings going to acquire, and what will be the terms?
Not Giannis. I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Kuminga thing is lingering, forcing us to work deep into the dog days of summer. So, I think that one's interesting. Obviously, ESPN had a piece yesterday with a good update on it, and the fact that the Warriors, I mean, the part that Kings fans often forget is that the Warriors are obviously in control here. And even if the Kings are willing to go to a number that Jonathan is happy with, and it does seem like the role that he could have with them is a whole lot more enticing than his kind of Warriors frustrating existence. There's still no sign that the Warriors are all that interested in what the Kings would give back. So a bit of a staring contest, and one that, could still result in him going back to Golden State heading into the season.
Sam, on that front, I mean, it's reported that the Kings and maybe I think the Suns are the other team that might be interested if there are not others. But do you get a sense of the Kings, not seriousness in this, but I mean, obviously, I think they're playing it smartly in a way that, look, the Warriors and them haven't agreed yet, so the Kings can kind of have all these other promises out there. Do you think the Kings would be willing to budge more if that's what's keeping the Warriors from doing anything? Do you think Sacramento is as how serious do you think they are, I guess I should say, in their pursuit of Kuminga?
I mean, I think they're serious within the context of their measured rebuilding plan. You know what I mean? And rebuilding is probably too loose of a term. As you guys know, they're trying to still compete, and they're not tearing this thing down by any means. But they, and this could change, but they have not seen him as a guy who, as far as the salary slot, they wanted him as a promising starter on their team, but a guy who, is going to make, probably not north of 20 million. And it could get above that, but, he's a guy that has seen himself. I mean, this is where the agent side is tricky, because everybody knows that he's had it kind of said to him for a long time now that he's a $30 million a year player, potentially. And I know that sounds crazy in today's NBA, when you've got guys making 60 and damn near 70 at this point. The numbers are wacky, but so they're serious in that neighborhood, and they're serious without giving up somebody like Keegan Murray or things of that nature. But it has its limits.
Got a break in here. Sorry, Sam. We'll go right back to this. That as rumored. Thank you, Chris, for this. The San Diego Padres are acquiring Mason Miller and J.P. Sears from the A's. That's according to Jeff Passan, who is obviously going to know what's up. We do not know what the A's are getting in return, but that was a trade that's been rumored. That broke just now as we are at the baseball trade deadline. I don't want to get lost in that here.
Dave, can I add on super fast? Because I never get to chime in on baseball. I was at the A's game last night with neighbor John. And it was actually fun to see the baseball trade deadline in real time action, because I'm not an A's fan, but I've seen Mason pitch, and I was fired up to see him in the ninth and watch him throw 103 and 104 or whatever he gets up to. And when we were sitting there going, wait a minute, why are the A's not using their closer? What's going on here?
Yeah,
safe situation.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Dave, it is the A's are receiving shortstop Leodalis DeVries, I think is how you say it, the number 1 overall prospect in baseball, along with 3 pitchers from San Diego.
That's great. That was a rumored name. I don't know anything about him other than he's number 3. You can get the number 3 prospect in baseball and another 3 pitchers. You're doing well. I mean, unfortunately, I know A's fans would rather hold on to their players. I get it. It sucks. But if you can get the number freaking 3 prospect in baseball, hey, freaking now. All right, more on that later. We're talking basketball with Sam. So your former colleague, Anthony Slater, mentioned that, he thinks the Kings are in prime position to do a step back rebuild, but there's just no patience for that with management, with ownership. And Jason and I were talking about this before the show, Sam. What is kind of strange about the Kings is I don't know if they were trying to rebuild, those contracts are difficult to move. Sabonis, DeRozan, and especially LaVine, they're kind of at a fork in the road because they haven't really done anything since Scott Perry took over, Sam, to say that they're not going to rebuild. They haven't took on long-term money. They haven't done anything like that, but they also haven't done anything to show that they are rebuilding. I feel like they could still go either way, but would you agree? Because that's what I think, that I actually think that's right. Vivek has never shown any sort of a patience for a full rebuild with this team.
Well, no, and I mean, you're pot committed. I mean, I don't know what you're pot committed to, not trying to be funny, but like you already went down this track with the Fox trade and the way you handled it. Yeah. Scott Perry obviously had nothing to do with that. And I mean, yeah, that's how Vivek has kind of pushed this thing. And now you are in a tricky spot where the unpacking of this roster, because of, DeRozan's got some market value, but he's obviously on the late stage age wise. Zach, they have not found much out there for him. And so in lieu of that, you kind of roll it out with what you have, and you have to remain patient. And that's what Scott's going to have to do. And honestly, he deserves patience from the fans because he didn't make this mess. And that's where they're trying to thread this needle. And I do think if they could land the bird with Kuminga, that's the kind of thing that gets you down a pretty good road. Then you got a good young player, because if you look at the entire group right now, and actually John and I were having this conversation yesterday, it's just like there's still an element of excitement around Keegan, but it's not, I think you guys would agree, what it was 2 years ago when it was like, is he franchise centerpiece material? He's a nice player, and they got to figure out his extension situation. But there's just not a lot that you look at right now and say, okay, these 3-4 guys have got to be part of the future. It's just a reality. Even if you like watching Zach play ball and DeMar play ball and even Sabonis to an extent, those guys are not, as far as the long term. I mean, even Domas, he's still a pretty young guy, but you've got a lot of history with him at this point. It is a tough roster to unpack, and it's going to take him a while.
Sam, in kind of tying that thought back into Kuminga in their, pursuit of him, he does feel like a thread the needle type of, like, that's not taking you in a direction of going backwards. It's keeping you kind of in that
right
range that they've been in, 6 to 12, I don't know, in the West. But what do you think he would be on the pecking order of the roster, assuming they added him? And I'm assuming it would not be for Domas or LaVine or something like that. So where would he kind of be viewed as for this organization the next 3 to 4 years, as like the piece, a piece? How do you think they would view Kuminga?
Well, it would be a hybrid of like maybe the piece or one of the top 2 pieces, but he also has to prove that he can be that guy. We know he can score, but the game is not, especially the way the game is trended. Like, they need to be a team that guards, because every team needs to guard these days. Defense actually matters again. We know with the Warriors coaching staff how he has driven them crazy when it comes to all the little things, beyond scoring, and he needs to improve on that front. But if he can be a guy who actually gives you 20 plus a night, and at the age he's at, and that, again, like to your point, Jay, that's something that you can feel like you're starting to build something. So it's nothing personal, obviously, but as far as like the question of pecking order, I don't see Zach or DeMar as part of this team's future. It's just a matter of time before they get moved on, or if they end up hanging around for a couple of years, we'll see in Zach's case. But Domas, we've talked about this, like he has continued to kind of just realize that he can't wave his hand and go to the team of his choice. It's not going to happen that way in today's NBA. And so, he's still a very good player that is going to be a major priority. And we'll see how Dennis Schroeder plays. He's been inconsistent the past couple of years. But, that's a long answer to your simple question. Jonathan if they were able to get him, would be a major priority.
Sam Amick joining us. You said earlier, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on DeRozan and LaVine. You said the Kings weren't finding much with LaVine, and I think I'm just nitpicking your words here, but I'm just curious. Are they finding anything? I mean, LaVine appears to me as, at least right now, a literally like untradeable contract. Like if they went around the league and said, we will take literally anything in return other than more salary long term, but we will take whatever you want to give back to get rid of Zach LaVine. No disrespect to him, it's just his contract. Am I right in thinking there's just no takers, there's no room, there's no money for Zach LaVine?
Yeah, no, and I don't know all the talks, obviously, but
Sure.
I would presume that you're having to attach assets to get off that deal, and they're not looking to do that. So, that, especially when you are trying to compete, and even though you don't see him as part of the future, you still know he can give you 30 plus on any given night. So in terms of competing, they care about what they would potentially get back. But yeah, I mean, the contract is I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. It's not going anywhere.
Have you heard, Sam, any more lately on Westbrook and the Kings?
No, admittedly, this is one of those, we run into these weeks every once in a while where I wish I'd chatted with you guys, 8 hours from now. I have a few conversations lined up that could help on that front. But I have been when I was on vacation, I was a little surprised by the Westbrook chatter that I had noticed, just because my understanding now, and things change, is, and Dave, you I know have been real close to the story, is that there was a concern about flooding the backcourt. And when I went on vacation, the interest level was seemingly pretty low. And then, it seemed like, Dave, you especially kind of felt like this was maybe more on their radar and something they wanted to do, but I don't have clarity at the moment.
Yeah, from what I understand, and what really triggered it was I didn't really have a place to put it, but strangely enough, out of Westbrook's camp, I know his people close to him have been talking about Sacramento and asking around about the market and about the team and about the things that sometimes are a precursor to something. There's definitely curiosity there, and there has been interest. That's a player that Scott Perry helped draft, has a relationship with, and kind of fits the parameters. I don't think it's a matter of necessarily mutual interest. I think, to your point, Sam, it probably would have already been done. They still have that full MLE left. I think that MLE is sitting there waiting for Russ or plan B. I think there's still something else coming regardless of what it is, but it's flooding the backcourt. This is a guess, and I'm just guessing, but I think maybe a big part of, if not the entire holdup, is they thought maybe they were going to be able to move a Monk or a Carter or somebody, and they have not been able to move anybody. So now you bring in Westbrook. Yeah, you've got two true blue point guards, but that teeter-totter without a power forward, a true power forward, is now really shifted. So I don't know if the Kuminga stuff might end up breaking the dam. I think, honestly, if the Kuminga thing were to go, especially if somebody in the backcourt was going in that process, that might speed the thing up, but it just seems there's a little bit of a logjam right now, but there is interest.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a fascinating one. Just in terms of, like Russ's past couple of years, man, like there's been some good moments, right? Like he had some really good moments last year with Denver. But then there were some bad moments. I mean, that's the Russ experience, but it's like Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. It would concern me if I was the Kings that all three of them, even if when given the chance to bring them back, on minimums, have declined. You know what I mean? And that's the one where who knows what the sweet spot is in terms of his style of veteran leadership. And I mean, listen, there's a bunch of vets on this team already. Does Russ, click with this group, or there were some really crunchy moments with Denver, and he is just such an intense dude who I get it, but I don't agree with it. He continues to kind of carry himself, like he's still at that MVP level at times. That's kind of the word you get. And it's, it's not that graceful kind of Vince Carter transition into the role player life that a guy like Vince had back in the day. It's a lot, and it's something I think the Kings certainly need to consider when it comes to their culture and their locker room.
Sam, I think the Kings aren't the only team, but other teams have maybe wanted to move some guys or make some trades. And there were some trades, obviously Game 7, the famous trade of Kevin Durant. There were a few trades right around that. But then since free agency started, whether it's teams being tight on money or concerned with the second apron and so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot of people saying, well, expect more trades maybe during the season coming closer to the trade deadline. I don't know. Will it be any different then? I mean, there's still some of the same concerns are out there. I guess the only difference would be teams would be in the season and have different goals of where they could ultimately land. Do you expect it to be easier to move some of these contracts for the Kings or others come trade deadline time?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's always a little, well, I don't know. I mean, it's funny. The cycle is, it's like a lot of times you start the talks at the deadline, and the chaos of the season makes it, trickier to pull it off then. And then it's supposed to be easier in the summer when you have that time. So, I mean, I guess that compound effect could continue when it comes to certain conversations that they've had. And, but when it comes to those guys, again, we never know the whole landscape, but we don't even have, leaders in the clubhouse, so to speak, with a LaVine, with a DeRozan. I mean, DeMar at times a little bit with Miami, but they've done a bunch of stuff since then. You know what I mean? Like, there's not that narrative that we've been tracking, like, oh, Zach was pretty close to going to Team X, and it's just a matter of them getting it over the finish line. It's what we hit on earlier, which is, I don't know if the day comes when they are willing to attach assets to finally shake up their roster with these players that are taking up a massive part of their payroll. But for now, they just got to make do with what they have.
I don't want to go down the hole again, but Jesus, it's just so funny that we're sitting here, whether it's, Bagley, Doncic, whether it's Halliburton in the finals, and now we're not even a year. I mean, we're barely 6 months into the DeAaron Fox trade. And we're talking about the Kings having probably a top 5 most immovable contract and not much else as a result of the DeAaron Fox trade. At some point, Sam, they got to make like a 30 for 30 or something on the absolutely Shakespearean level of aggressive, like Wile E. Coyote cut out in the side of the mountain, smash grab failures. I mean, we're sitting here talking about the fact that they have this massive immovable contract, and the highest paid player on the team, no disrespect to his game, is somebody that they got back for their biggest rebuild piece. It's ridiculous.
It is. I mean, listen, and we haven't visited for a while because I went on vacation, but I'm not going to lie. This is another one of those visits where it's like the mood. I feel bad for the fans. And I, Dave, you and I joke off the air about how, like, we're not trying to be negative Nancy all the time. Last night when I went to that A's game, we had walked from downtown. So I walked by Golden One and I honestly, it was kind of reflecting on the Kings situation. And it was like, there was actually unfortunately, a couple businesses that had shuttered since I had been there last. Right. Yeah. And we know what the team means to the community. And then I see these business, and I don't know if there's a direct through line, but when you see that, you're thinking, all right, well, playoff basketball is good for everybody. And when they got in the playoffs, the place was popping and Doko was making money. And as a person who's lived here a long time, it was like, man, like I said to John, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I think they're probably 5 years away from being good again if they do this thing right, maybe a little less. And that's where, put yourself in Scott Perry's shoes, where he's got all this familiarity with the group from when he worked here before, but his fingerprints are not on, almost any of these moves, until this summer, of course. And you got to be, happy to get the job, but then also looking at the moves that you alluded to, Dave, going, damn, like why did you guys do that Fox trade? Why did you set it up in this kind of way. And you probably want to look at the owner and ask him too, but that's a little bit too on the nose because he just hired you. But yeah, it's they're in another challenging spot, unfortunately.
That's Sam.
Well, that's depressing.
Oh, sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
I said, well, that's depressing.
Well,
Sam, how was your vacation?
on that note,
Mostly good.
I did notice earlier you said you went to the A's game with neighbor John. Was that just
he drove? I mean, so I had to take the
Oh.
run part off. Yeah.
okay? So he was neighbor John. Okay, very good.
Yes.
Sam Amick of the Athletic joining us fresh back from a beautiful vacation. It looked like on Facebook with the family. Good to have you back, Sam. We appreciate you each and every week, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. That's Sam. And yeah, well, look, we do often talk off the air. It's like, God, we have these interviews, and it always, a lot of times it just ends up, and a lot of it's me. Like, I'll just get hit with something. And I think it was just the whole no market for LaVine thing. It's like, that's what we got. We didn't get magic beans. We had magic, I don't know, the thing that's not good that aren't beans. I can't think of something, but here we go. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll shower all that off of us. We'll recoup.